Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center with another tornado warning. This one till 7:15 for parts of Columbia and Union. Alachua got trimmed out real quick as things are popping up. We were warning about some areas of spin, and we're seeing two of them right now. I try to get going within this polygon, so let me go ahead and pop it on. We have a circulation here right on the Union Alachua County line. We're looking for debris right now. Luckily, not seeing anything, but we are getting a little closer on the radar, so if something were to touch down, I might actually be able to see it within the radar algorithms. But you see one area spin here as we're looking around Providence or 8 miles west of Worthington Spring, moving northwest at 40 miles an hour. Another area spin here as we get towards State Highway 47. So go ahead and take those tornado precautions right now here. Watching things very carefully. Some upscale growth in this area. So get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here. The Weather Service talking about these areas of spin within the chat session. The one west of Providence, the other west of Columbia here. Two areas of potentially tornadic spin, as these are some of the higher gate-to-gate values we've seen now today. As we're looking at this axis, so go ahead and take the situation seriously. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible if you're in this area. Go ahead and take those tornado precautions right now. If you're in this vicinity, we'll go ahead and switch you on over to a different source right now. We do have our radar scope computer up, and you can see the spins here. We have some pretty strong winds showing up here, 41 miles an hour. And then we have about 4, but then we had maybe a little tighter a moment ago, even some wind, and you see 45 on the other spin, and then maybe 12. So I could have a 60-mile-an-hour wind translating. It's tighter than what we've seen here today. These are a little bit more well-defined circulations within the Doppler radar. So again, tornado warnings in play till 7:15 this morning. We're really kind of seeing just so many things coming out from the Weather Service. Very busy morning here, so go ahead and take a scout trip in this area. Pretty rural overall, but it does include areas like Columbia, Worthington Spring, as we've talked about. The one west of Providence is about to cross 75, the Weather Service is saying here. So you got that here as we circle it on the screen. We box that on in, so got to be mindful of that potential. A circulation here about to cross 75 in parts of the region. Just go ahead and take those tornado precautions right now. The other spins weakened some now as we're looking off toward the west, but the one near 75 still there enough. Just got to take those tornado precautions. We're in a pretty rural area, so we're going to take a quick break in the coverage here. We're trying to get some more things together here on Elsa as it gets closer to the coast. You see this accent moving on in here. Going to be a busy day. You see Elsa here as well. Some of the strongest winds with Elsa. Actually, probably, it looks like we're off of Cedar Key, but let me check the other radar to make sure I've been focusing on these tornado warnings here. Yeah, it looks like some of the worst of this actually staying just off of Cedar Key, so maybe a little bit of a westerly component here comparatively to what we were seeing with the track yesterday. A little bit of a western shift in this, so maybe more. It looks like around Steinhatchee maybe getting some of the worst of this. So a little bit of something to take note of. We'll keep you updated. We'll be back in about 5 minutes unless we get a report of a tornado on the ground here as we continue to watch things this morning with Elsa. Tornado warning for parts of Columbia, parts of Union till 7:15. A couple spins. Of course, you see all this rain. It still's got to come in as this storm's really one-sided here. All the accent on the eastern side and even on the southeast side, for that matter. I mean, not that much on the northeast side even, but watching the state of Florida get all this rain, the flood warning we were talking about out toward Taylor, also over toward Lafayette and Dixie counties until this afternoon. It could get upgraded to a flash flood warning. So we're watching, keeping you up to date. It's a very, very busy day here in the Weather Center. One of the busiest ones we'll probably have here for a while, hopefully. And we're going to get you through it as we give you the very latest information. So stay tuned, and if you're in that area, in that red box, take those tornado precautions. back here in the Weather Center now. You see that new tornado watch I saw in play. I want to touch on that while we're on. That goes here into those afternoon hours as we watch that threat continue across the region. So, going to definitely be tracking that potential here with this into towards southeastern Georgia as well. As we go back on over to the tornado warning storm, I was just looking at circulation weaker now with this. That's some good news. Hopefully we're going to focus more on the axial system itself here pretty soon with those winds, as they're going to cause some more power outages toward the coast. But right now you're just seeing pretty broad areas of rotation here as we're looking toward Interstate 75. But we'll be keeping our eyes out here. I know we have that tornado watch in play until 1 o'clock this afternoon. They are going to continue the tornado warning though, so just be mindful of that as we look here at the grand scheme of things, broaden it out even a little bit further. That tornado watch, the new one now is issued here. That one goes until about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Maybe after that we'll see things kind of break up some, but could also get some other factors to increase the tornado threat. Once this makes landfall, they might come into play. So we'll just have to wait and see. Kind of a tricky situation here overall. Tropical tornado forecast, it is not easy. You just know generally there is going to be a threat, though, of something trying to emerge. But I don't think we've had any. I could be wrong on this. We've been so busy. But I don't think we've actually had any confirmed tornado touchdowns with this system yet. But we're going to be watching, tracking things. You see some of the stronger winds, by the way, with our storm system, with Elsa moving here, Cedar Key some, but rolling more toward Horseshoe Beach. So more of a threat toward Taylor and Dixie counties now versus even Levy in some ways. But you're still going to have that storm surge potential as we've been talking about here. We're going to have to watch out for that. Maybe even after this makes landfall, just depending on how things kind of go with this, how they kind of push things in. It's a little tricky because you got to watch the angle here of those winds here and how they're pushing things in. But we're going to go ahead and broaden this back out now. You do see what's going on. Looking here behind the scenes at some parameters, tornado parameters. Not really seeing too many, but you don't always have to have them in this tropical environment. That's something to watch. You do see some here, though, as they take this out right off the coast. It could be a sign of some things to come here later on with some type of tornado threat. Is real quickly here, we will take this out and put the SPC outlook on, where you do see the highest threat of tornadoes today, including Stark, Gainesville, Cedar Key, over toward areas around Live Oak, Lake City. We're going to be watching for that. In terms of the satellite presentation of the storm right now, the infrared satellite viewpoint, you see things look a little bit better, well-defined, so we have to be cognizant of that potential here as well. But we're getting word the broadening rotation is the story now toward parts of Columbia, into Columbia County, south of Lake City. So we're going to be watching that, but hopefully this warning goes away pretty soon. It looks like we're starting to see another spin pop up though, but I'm going to switch radars because, looks like, they're seeing what I'm seeing. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have a tightening couplet now about crossing the southern Swanee. This one's headed northwest in the direction of Live Oak, and it'll be there in about 30 minutes, so a new tornado warning's coming out there. I'm going to check my other radar at Moody to see what's going on here. See what's going on there from the Moody radar there. To see how we're kind of getting a look at things on that. As we just got a new tornado warning to come on in. That goes till 7:30. So that's going to be a vigorous shower capable of producing a tornado located near Columbia or 9 miles southwest of Lake City, moving northwest at 30 miles an hour. So it's not popped into our system quite yet. I know we're going between so many different things, but it's the area here. I'll kind of mark it. It's this area right here we're watching. You can probably even see it on rotation tracker some. You can see some rotation in there. So a new warning, new tornado warning in play until 7:30 here. Generally headed toward Live Oak if it holds together, but they're not in the warning yet. This is moving northwest at 30. Community of Wellborn there about 7:15 in the path of the possible tornado here. Again, tornado warning for parts of Columbia and Swanee until 7:30. I'm going to go ahead and look at some more things here behind the scenes. Of course, with the other tornado warning for parts of Columbia and Union until 7:15, but that rotation's been broadening out. So that's some good news here. That is some, that's some good news for sure. But we're going to keep watching, keep tracking here this morning. I'm trying to give you the latest information keep you abreast of everything that's happening here in the Weather Center. Going ahead, I think, and switching you on over to the Moody site now, because that distance here should be pretty helpful as we're tracking some of the action here out toward the Swanee River Valley. It's a little bit closer. It's a little bit closer, in fact, here on this mode of our radar. You see the reds and the greens coming together here. You see those reds and greens coming together here, south of Wellborn. Not that tight overall in terms of, I guess what I mean by that, it is kind of tight, but the winds aren't all that strong in here, so that's the good news. Be a weaker tornado based on this angle of the Doppler radar. You have to use different angles of the Doppler to kind of diagnose things. That's what we're doing here this morning. Again, tornado warnings in play. Two of them, the one here for the I-75 area at 7:15, the one as we look that's headed in the general direction of Live Oak till 7:30. So going to be tracking things, tracking the storm again. You see that storm system off the coast there. You see some of these stronger winds around Cedar Key. I'm curious to see what we're getting out of that site now. Let me go ahead. I know we've been going between so many different things. Let me go ahead and check on some other information that we're getting right now. The Cedar Key Fire and Rescue. See what that site's telling us, because some of our other information isn't going to really pop up for that area, but they should be getting some stronger winds even in 52 probably. 58, yeah, they're now getting a gust of 58 there in Cedar Key, folks, so the increasing power outage is threatened. In fact, we have the camera up in our system, so let me go ahead and go back over to Cedar Key now, as those conditions keep getting worse, but maybe not even the worst of the storm there, and we're getting now a gust of 56 miles an hour, so it is nasty there in Cedar Key, folks. Really nasty weather this morning. Checking my power outage information. I haven't checked this in about an hour or so. We have seen a slight increase, it looks like, in some power outages, but still only about 246 in Levy, though I'm not 100% sure if we're getting everything in the system here, because honestly, I would expect more power outages with a number like 58 miles an hour in terms of a gust, but we're watching things very carefully there towards Cedar Key. Again, that's the view outside right now. Conditions getting worse there in toward Levy County and then Dixie County. That hurricane warning in play here, folks. So, got to be mindful of that potential. Got to be mindful of that threat. And we're going to go ahead and move away from this right now, though. Pop up some of our other systems again. Again, you're watching that wind down there, but then we're watching the spin. The embedded spins here toward the north. So we have to be cognizant of the threat of an isolated tornado. We're watching these storms. We're watching the storminess moving toward Bradford County. You see Brooker, Keystone, Waldo, some torrential downpours. It's going to be hard to see what you're doing, Roy, on the road. You probably shouldn't be going out, even though the gusts aren't going to be really strong. They're going to pick up some there in this area based on velocity signatures. Going between some things here. Did get a gust of 33 recently in Gainesville and a gust of 21 there as we look over toward Keystone. So let me go ahead. We're going to show you this now. You also see a cluster of lightning. If I go ahead and pop this up here in the Gulf, kind of interesting to see that. Maybe a storm that's trying to get that together again. We'll have to wait and see. But you see these winds here at these sites. Again, we don't have one at Cedar Key on this map, but you see the hurricane warning. If you look real close in here, really talking not Taylor County with this, which may actually need to go up further. We'll see. But Dixie, Levy, Citrus under the hurricane warning here. We'll be watching things with this scenario. May not become a hurricane, but just in theory, if you're watching the landfall here and some of these winds, is this something to kind of be mindful for here? Probably more toward Dixie, it looks like at this point, than Taylor, but some of this maybe in the southern Taylor, as we were referencing a little while ago. So be watching it. Taking a quick break in the cover. Be back in about 5 minutes or so. Take shelter into those tornado warning polygons. Back with you now with that Elsa tornado warning coverage. We have these circulations. We're still watching, getting some reports in now of some gusts in that 56, 57 mile an hour range towards Cedar Key now. So a pretty nasty wind there. Some mesonet sites, one of those there, the weather stem, and then the other a buoy station. So those winds, those conditions deteriorating as we've been referencing down toward the coast. But still watching these areas that spin within the Doppler. They're not that tight, but looks like we're getting some updates here, maybe some tornado watch information being shared here in the chat session, but there are some areas of rotation that are still worth noting. You see one here and there, it looks like Ormond Witt Road in toward parts of Columbia County, really broad spin, and the other spin here toward the north here as we get up toward, it looks like 51st Drive. They're really broad. These would be weak tornadoes, those winds maybe not even strong. That's what we're seeing at the coast, or just barely stronger in an isolated spot, as we just got one of these areas canceled on out. So that's some good news. Area of Columbia canceled in the warning toward the west, but this still does not mean we still don't have two warnings on the board. As you see, some areas here of spin within the radar, some areas of weak broad rotation here in nature, so still got to take those tornado precautions in these areas. We're watching things carefully, of course, for you. We have that tropical storm warning for many of us in play, as we've been referring to it all day long here, so far today and yesterday as well, trying to keep you up to date on what's going on here. In fact, we'll go to it again if you're just waking up with us. You can see our storm system, our broad view here, kind of telling what's happening. We'll actually kind of go ahead and go to another viewpoint real quick here, as we're getting some of those reports in at the coast now. We'll go ahead and pop this up here on our GR Earth computer, and you can see that storm system. You can see some of that action in Levy and Dixie counties there this morning. Nasty conditions overall. Just got to be cognizant of those. And then as we go on over now back to our other source, looking at some of these winds, luckily not seeing a high population necessarily under the hurricane warnings. We don't actually have sensors in this system under that hurricane warning necessarily, but you see some of them just off there at 23 gust in Perry, 25 in toward Gainesville there. You also see 18 cross cities, so nothing really impressive, but again, right at the coast there, Cedar Key, we've had gusts in that 50 range there, gusts in that damaging wind range, 56, 57 miles an hour, 58 miles an hour. You get the idea. Right there in Cedar Key there, folks. So just a little while ago, as we're going between some different radar vantage points here, looking at some of our velocity tools that we have in the toolkit, watching maybe a landfall a little bit further west here along the Big Bend. So that'll be something to watch for here as we're looking ahead in this scenario. Let's go back over to our other source for now, though. You do see these areas of spin within the Doppler radar algorithms. As I just got one of the warnings to go away at 7:15, it looks like that warning toward the south there just went away. So that's good news. That's just updating on our other source now. So let me go ahead and pop that up. You can see we have just a one tornado warning now in Swanee County, so that's good. This is an area of spin near Wellborn, or 11 miles southeast of Live Oak, moving northwest at 30 miles an hour. Our storm system here, of course, as we're looking, you see some of the worst of the winds here near Swanee right now and parts of Dixie County, Horseshoe Beach. I'm going to be having to track some of this here over the next little bit here along the Big Bend coastline. We're keeping you abreast of things. We're watching that spin in Swanee County. It's pretty broad in nature, though, right now. That's good news. That's the really good news. As we just see the storm make landfall here later on, we'll have to be mindful that sometimes you can get an increase in a tornado threat when that happens, but also with the daytime heating that tries to evolve, may not get too much of it. We might see something, but you just never know, because the tornado threat in these situations are really hard to kind of discern. You have to have certain triggers. We wouldn't necessarily get breaks in the cloud for this. If we had a situation where this was even more disorganized, we might, and that could increase the tornado threat with the increased instability. But we have so many different parameters we have to kind of watch out for here. I don't want to get too into it, but You see the weak rotation. This is very little there in terms of rotation showing up right now here in the McAlpin, Wilborn area, northeast of McAlpin. You're not really into the tornado warning, but we're looking not far from Wilborn. We're getting very weak rotation. So we're going to take another break here in the coverage. We'll be back in about 5 minutes or so, unless they drop this warning early, as we're trying to go ahead and continue to watch things. Conditions going to get worse and starker over the next little bit, so be mindful of that as we track Tropical Storm Elsa. Back here in the Weather Center, tornado warning still till 7:30 this morning for parts of Suwannee County. Really weak rotation. Not too concerned about this at the moment. And we're going to be switching over pretty soon to a different feed here, a different stream to continue our coverage here today as we have this heavy rain, some nasty weather moving in toward Bradford County here. It's already been moving through Hampton over the last little bit. Already starting to hear some heavier shower action now around Stark, and I will go over now. You'll be able to see this on our other system, on our other software. So here's that viewpoint now. You see right around 301 torrential downpour, some pretty nasty wind at times even. So some of the worst of the weather we've seen so far moving into Bradford County here right in the next few minutes. So be on guard here around Stark. We're watching things carefully. And what the Weather Service is saying is that the rotation's weakened for now in the cells that we're watching, in all these different cells, including out in Suwannee County, it looks like. So that's some good news. So we've not seen much rotation there for the time being in the region. So that's definitely something we like to see. So since it looks like the tornado warning is going to go away at 7:30, we're going to go ahead and end the stream a little before 7:30 since they're talking in the chat. It is more about that funnel cloud, weak rotation type potential right now. We'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes, though, with special cover to Tropical Storm Elsa to keep you, your friends, and your family safe as we get into that half-hour type cut-in mode, and then, of course, more frequent coverage as necessary, like what we're doing right now. So stand by for another live stream as those conditions get a little bit nasty around Stark here with our Tropical Storm Elsa, and as we wait for that update from the National Hurricane Center, that intermediate advisory, as you see, getting some of that worst of the weather moving into Dixie County right now.